Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. We are excited to discuss with a bit of a Q&A session with someone who has successfully navigated this journey. So, a brief recap. Sarah is trying to break into the IT industry from a non-IT industry, and Norma here has actually successfully completed that and landed a ServiceNow role. So, we've got a chat as well, so you can post in the chat if you want, but we're not really taking questions. But hi, Colleen, thanks for saying that you're excited to join in, and thank you, Kaya, for helping me pronounce your name correctly. So, with that, Sarah, can you just do a bit of a brief introduction to let everybody who hasn't met you from a previous episode understand a bit of who you are and what we're trying to do?
Absolutely. So, um, 2 years ago, I was introduced to ServiceNow, and I was working doing cleanings. And my friend Jeremy introduced me to ServiceNow and what it could do for my business. And I pursued getting my CSA, and I did that about a year ago. And I'm just trying to um, get a full-time job in the ServiceNow ecosystem.
Well, I think you've done a couple more things though
Yes.
than just the CSA. So we'll touch
Oh
on
yeah.
those a little bit later.
Yeah.
But Norma, go ahead. Tell us about yourself.
Hi. So last year in April, I went through the Next Gen program for the Skill Bridge program. It was for military spouses and veterans looking to transition into service now. I got my CSA, my CSM, and was successfully able to land a role with Accenture Federal Services about a month after my program ended in July. And currently, I'm a business analyst on a government project right now.
Oh, that's exciting. Okay, so thanks for that introduction. So, I think Sarah's looking into the developer side of things, but this is going to be about the journey, the application process, the how did you do it type of thing. So you said you're both from Next Gen, I believe, right? And Sarah's done some Next Gen. Well, you do Next Gen instruction?
Yeah, I taught it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So Norma's a Next Gen alum or a student who's successfully gone through the program. Sarah's taught those programs that she went through. So, Norma, can you kind of give us a bit of an overview of how many times and how did you apply for all of the roles and describe that process and journey for us?
I'm gonna be honest. I may have only sent out like 5 or 6 applications. My focus was mostly on networking. I did probably, I can't even remember a countless number of networking events, whether they were online or they were in person. Um, I think I'm very blessed to be located in a city that is very military heavy. I'm from San Antonio, Texas, so we have tons of military bases here. So there's tons of networking events for military spouses and veterans. But I was actually referred to this role from a couple of recruiters that I had made very good relationships with, and they got my resume in front of the main recruiter hiring for a ServiceNow analyst. Um, the next day, I had an interview with her. She put me through. Within like 2 weeks, I was hired.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing. So this speaks to a bit of the difference in everyone's journey. So in the previous episode, the person that was successful sent out over 70 applications to different organizations and was able to use light networking plus lots of applications to land that role. Your journey is more focused on the networking stuff. So we're going to follow up on describe that a bit more detail, but I want to make sure that everybody that's either live with us now or listening later understands that your process and how you get there is going to be different for everybody. It's as unique as you are, and you have to leverage all of the available tools to you. So, can you expand a bit? You said you went to a lot of networking events. What kind of networking events did you go to?
some were just about, either working on your resume or, actually hiring events, how to, work on your elevator pitch. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, you name it, I was there. Um, and if I can be very transparent, because I'm pretty sure there's a ton of introverts out there and some in this room, I hated every bit of it. It was
That's
terrible.
fair. Okay.
Um, but I knew that this was necessary for me, to do this. So it was just, I don't know if I can expound even further. I don't have my bachelor's. I pivoting from a retail perspective, background. Um, so on paper, it may have looked like, I'm not sure about her, but I know once they met me and they could see what I can do and they got them to like me, um, then I was in, so that's why I took that route. It was important for me to get people to know me, understand me, and see my value and worth aside from any accolades or experience that I may not have.
That's fantastic. And just to draw back a bit more on the networking events, and then we'll move on from those. How are you finding out about all of these networking events? How did you come across them? And then how did you decide whether or not to go if it was a paid one? Because I know sometimes you have to pay an attendance fee or something like that.
Um, just online, I follow any and everyone, even if I don't think that they're maybe doing something that I may like or may be interested in. Also, just being involved in different organizations locally. So they're more geared toward veterans and spouses, military. So 9 times out of 10, they're not going to be paid. Most people want to give back to that community. So there's just opportunity for me to go and be involved. So I also, on top of not um, just being an attendee, I would volunteer my time because I wanted these people to see the effort, um, and a different part of me versus just I'm here for me, but I'm also here to give back, as well.
Oh, that's important. Very nice. I
When
also
did
heard
you
you.
start?
Oh, go ahead, Sarah. Sorry. Go
When
ahead.
did you start networking? Was it like the beginning of the class, or was it after you like passed exams?
As soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like as soon as I could, as soon as, I got kind of comfortable and listening to like getting advice from other people to do it. I think it was like in my first or second week when I started reaching out to people.
Awesome.
Nice, thank you. Now, you also mentioned that you follow everything and everyone. So, how has social media been a part of your journey, and which social media platforms have you leveraged?
Um, I use Facebook for maybe to follow more like groups, um, and for local events here, but I also use LinkedIn a lot. That's my go-to just because it's just so vast. Um, and I can, seek other areas other than just San Antonio, but virtually. I know like ServiceNow will do a lot of open houses, and I would go to those events just to be involved and be a face and kind of see who are the key players and then reach out to them personally on my own. Because some of those events can be like 300 people going, and the likelihood of me talking to someone is not going to happen. But a personal message would is more likely for me to land an opportunity to be, you know, on their radar at least.
That's a great strategy, and it has paid dividends. And that's also a great way for people that maybe in a location where they're not too close to existing events, you still can attend these things virtually, get that contact information. And I really like how you followed up. That was a theme in the other episode as well, where they would send in those 70 applications, including follow-ups afterwards, making sure the application was received successfully and just trying to get a status update, kind of politely asking for an update. So great work on that piece. So I think that covers a bit of all the networking, unless there was other stuff you want to add related to that.
Um, no, I mean just like I said, like you mentioned strategy, I wouldn't go into these events without any, not major preparation, but I wouldn't have my resume handy just because I wanted these people that could be potential, connections or build relationships or hiring. I just wanted them to get to know me. Um, so the important thing when you're networking is people want to like you first. They don't want to work with anybody they don't like. So versus being too professional or all business, I just wanted to show me. I wanted them to get to know me first in that setting and then build that connection first versus um, what can you do for me? You know, um, that's
Mhm.
just my advice.
That's great advice on the networking side of things. This is relationship building, getting to know one another. And in addition to making sure that they liked Norma, she also had to like them. So this is a two-way street, right? So just as much as they're interviewing or they're getting to know you, you're also getting to know them. And it's okay if you're like, I don't think that that would be a good fit. That place is going to be, they're very serious, or maybe they're just too light. And you know that you're not going to work well without, a heavy, serious structure. So finding that right fit is key. And the only way you can determine that is to establish that personal relationship, get to know everybody on that level, and then move forward to, hey, maybe we should work together. Hey,
Absolutely.
Sarah, any questions on your part around the networking stuff? Okay, I
No,
know
I'm good.
you're closer, you're in Tennessee, and I know there are a bunch of events around there.
Yes,
But I also really, one of the things I picked up, and I'll just repeat it again, is attending those virtual events and those virtual webinars. You know, I I try to do them as much as I can, but I'm gonna probably focus on trying to attend more to it. So okay, so now we've networked, we've leveraged the networking to get to the point where we can do what I guess I would like to describe as a focused application. Would that be accurate, Norma?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
So you kind of networked and found specific people or specific organizations that you wanted to apply to rather than casting a wide net and searching on
Oh,
LinkedIn. You
yes.
kind of
Hmm.
like set it down to a focused application. So can you describe how you applied? How did you prepare for the application? What steps you took to submit a targeted or a focused application to a specific company based on your networking?
Um, so I had I probably had 7 or 8 mentors that ripped apart my resume and threw it in the garbage and set it on fire. Initially. So once the best advice I got was to create like 3 master resumes, targeting maybe the company that I want to work for based on like their values and also um what role I was looking for. So it's like a business analyst or admin. So that way when there was an opportunity, I didn't spend night and day hours wasting an opportunity to like tweak it or revamp it to that. So all I had to do is make a couple of adjustments and then send it. But I was always targeting like a couple of companies, Accenture being my first. And that had been for like 2 or 3 years, even before I started the Next Gen program. So just making sure that I was kind of prepared on that front so that when the opportunities came, I wasn't wasting time like getting the resume together. It was just tweaks so that, when you look at some of these these job postings, it's like 300 applicants already happened within 3 days. So that's tough. And then knowing those places and the recruiters either in my area, so that versus, hey, I'm not going to just apply to this. I'm going to get my resume to that recruiter because I've already made that connection, or a connection there, like with a hiring manager, so that my application doesn't get lost in the weeds. I have somebody that can vouch for me and hopefully put my name, to the top. And that's exactly what happened with Accenture.
Okay, awesome. And you mentioned sometimes you look and you saw over, 300 applicants or 300 people. I would find that intimidating, at least to say like, how do I measure up? Or that's very tight competition to kind of overcome. How did you overcome that? And maybe it did feel intimidating to you, but how did you overcome seeing 300 applicants and still push forward and submit that application?
Um, in the beginning, it was really discouraging, especially with the background that I had, mentioned. But the best advice I had got was, don't disqualify yourself. If I don't send it, it's a no. If I send it and it could be a yes, but I won't know if I don't send it. So either way, if I don't send it and I don't bet on myself, then I'm just going to get a no either way. I've already determined that outcome. So just, betting on myself and not disqualifying myself, letting them disqualify me, that just kind of gave me the confidence to know that at least this portion I can control. I can control uh, the opportunities that I'm going to allow myself to have.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice to don't disqualify yourself. Put your hat in as many rings as you can, and like you said, that's what's under your control. And then the ball's over in their court then to say no. And just to recap on the other episode a little more, somebody had submitted over 70 applications and only 4 companies responded. So when you're out there and doing that, apply to everywhere. Just know that sometimes you might go through 50 applications and not hear anything back. Don't disqualify yourself, like Norma has shared, and keep moving forward and keep trying until you get that desired result.
I
Wow, that's
love
fantastic.
the 3 like master resumes, because when you start applying for those jobs and then you have to go in there and tweak it, it discourages you even more. So if you have just the 3, I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, because
Yes.
I feel like we're trying to pivot, and so then you're already gonna overanalyze. They have 2 sets of things. They have their preferred, which is like, hey, these are negotiables, and they have these are what we need. And you start looking at it, and then you get kind of, well, what does this mean? Can I translate this or whatever? So if you already have that set of what you can do, you make those tweaks based on like some of their keywords or something. Um, then it takes the overthinking out of it. We're done. Like,
Absolutely.
we've accomplished this. We're done. Let's move on. It's in their hands now. I did the preparation. So yeah.
That's excellent. And as a self-admitted overthinker, that kind of approach would help me a lot because I have also poured over a single bullet point in my resume for weeks, and then it's like, oh, someone else got the job. So trying to get in the game and get in the game as quickly as possible will increase the odds and put them as much in my favor as I can. So yeah, can you kind of outline those 3 different resumes? So you've got 3 different resumes. Who are the target audiences for the different ones?
Um, I'm not sure if I had like a target audience.
Okay.
Um, I just based them on like the role I was seeking. Because there's some that were more not as technical. So like I had a more technical side of it, and I had more of like a customer facing. So that would be more for like if I was applying for like a business analyst or like something more client facing. Then I did have one mainly for Accenture. I really wanted to work for Accenture. I don't know if you guys knew that. Um, but and then I had one that was more like a project based. Um, so then based on the roles that I saw, I was able to tweak them. So I just kind of put them in like different categories, which is kind of ironic because, like I said, at Accenture, that's kind of how they're structured a little bit as far as like their capabilities. And I want to think maybe most partners are kind of structured that way since if you're working for a partner, it's not necessarily that you have any proprietary technology that you're selling, you're actually using ServiceNow or whatever they use to be a consultant, using that technology for their clients. So um, that's kind of how I targeted it that way. So I don't think I didn't really I didn't really tailor it to like if this was to a hiring manager, if this was to this recruiter,
Right.
if that's what your question was.
I guess it would kind of be more like, okay, I guess this is a hiring manager for this role. So it was more role based
Mm-hmm.
than audience based. And I'm just going to
Yes.
do a shout out to Michael and Nanaimo, who, I've worked with outside of the podcast. He's also kind of on Sarah's journey trying to break in and get that first role. He has two resumes, one focused on ServiceNow project management and one focused on ServiceNow implementation. And the content is different, but he does have unique skill sets in both areas. So that's very comforting to hear that, my guidance was at least down the right track. I'm not sure if the resume guidance at that level, because we hadn't had the Robert Fedor resume review episode when I was working with them on the resume. So yeah, thank you for that. So any questions, Sarah? I think nope. Okay. So now we've gone through and you got the applications, you got some responses, and you moved through the interviews, and you've got that interview with Accenture. Is that
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe that interview process and how did you successfully navigate it and what challenges did you face and how did you overcome
Um, so a big reason also why I wanted to work for Accenture is I just know people that work there and it was not painful at all. They made this process great. Um, so my preparation was good. I always kind of was told to like have my elevator pitch ready. So like I already knew the first question is always going to be, so tell me about yourself. Um, it's usually how they start. And so I know that's my time to not just tell them like, oh, I'm from San Antonio. They can look that up on LinkedIn. It's like, hey, my name is Norma. I went through this program, yada, yada, yada. I got my CSA, got this. Um, I have, 10 years of customer relations experience. Well, they want to know what I can do. They want to know my value. So I made sure that that was the main thing that I focused on when, as far as like getting that right, that first impression question, right? I also leaned on my next gen cohort. I had some amazing uh people that I've developed great friendships with. So we had interview prep sessions. We scheduled quite a few before I had my first interview. Um, that really helped me a lot. Um, and then just making sure that when I went through my resume and I compared it to the job description, that I was able to speak to those points, um, not just say I did this, but just like one of my mentors, they're in the Air Force. So there's like, Norma, when you're in your interview, you're telling your war story. This is your war story. What happened? What was the problem? What did you do? How did you rally the troops? How did you win the war? How did you win the battle? So that analogy kind of really helped me, so make sure that I can speak to the bullet points and make sure that they're showing value, um, and what I can do and produce for them based on the expectations of that job.
That's amazing, and it definitely paid those dividends. So I really like the war story analogy, especially because that is an IT term, and it's kind of a bit of an appropriation on it, but it isn't to describe the real deal. It's more like, oh, this project was going way off the rails, and how did we get it back on track, type of a thing. So these types of war stories, or maybe you publish something to production and it took the whole thing down, or deleted a bunch of records, or something like that, which I've been guilty of. But how you respond to that situation, how you communicate, and like you said, rally the troops or collaborate with everybody, figure out the best solution, put the egos aside, and figure out what the best solution is, and then come up with an actionable plan to execute it. That was one of the large takeaways I had from Knowledge 2024 in that last keynote when John Batiste said, the best collaboration is egos aside and the best idea should win. Easy to say,
Yes.
very difficult to do, especially if I've got 2 months worth of design in and someone comes up with something better. It's hard to say, your baby is prettier than mine. It's very difficult to do that. So I recognize that, but I'm trying to actively work on that as a personal growth journey. And it's nice to hear that you're following the same suit, telling those same war stories, and that expresses to everybody that you're trying to convince to hire you why you want me on the team. That's the biggest thing. Not only, yes, you like Norma, we want to work with you, Norma, but what are you going to do on the team that's going to help us move forward? And I think you've accurately and succinctly communicated that in a way that resonated with people, and look at the results that you've attained with it. So congrats on that. Sarah, any questions on the application or the interview journey piece?
Not at this time.
Awesome. Okay, so moving forward on that, now you've got the job offer, you're preparing for day one from an onboarding perspective, and I'm right in the middle of an onboarding project, so this is kind of why I like to discuss it. Can you do, there's pre-onboarding, I've been hired but I haven't started, then there's day one, then there's all the other stuff after that, which is different for everybody. But how did you prepare in that pre-onboarding thing? So you set our stage, I guess you would say. You've received the job offer, signed it, but you haven't started yet.
I took time off for my retail job.
Good. Okay. So you refreshed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I did anything too crazy. Just kind of lived in the moment, to be honest with you, because of course I had to do background checks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It took a while. I actually lived overseas, so it took even longer. But other than just staying on top of those things, I just kind of was in the moment. I took a step back and I was like, I did it. I just was, all my hard work, all the self-doubt, all the good things, I just was like, I did it. Like I did it. I think it was important for me to take the time because I didn't think it was possible. And if I'm going to be honest, I did have somebody that told me, you're never going to get a job in this. I tried to have them as a mentor and they said, it's not going to happen. You don't have a degree. You don't have this. And I'm going to be honest, you guys are going to get that. And I didn't get upset. I didn't get mad. I wrote everything down that this person told me that I didn't have. And I worked twice as hard to make sure that they knew what is standard in the industry or to get a job isn't going to matter with me. So I took that all as positive feedback to just fuel what I needed to do. So I lived in the moment. I was celebrated what I did. Yeah, I don't know if that's helpful to anybody, but I think taking the time to celebrate what your hard works and accomplishment is vital. It's key.
Well,
Absolutely.
there's two pieces. Oh, go ahead, sir. No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying absolutely.
Yeah. There's two pieces there that, while ServiceNow does have an incredible community and it's full of, well, obviously now mostly helpful people, I'm really impressed how you took that honest feedback with somebody saying their opinion. Now, in my opinion of their opinion, I think that it could have been more helpful to say, these are the gaps you need to close if you want to get a position, rather than say, it's not going to happen, give up. That type of approach has never worked for me, and I'm glad you were able to overcome it and take their feedback into, oh, here's all the lists of reasons why not. I need to address all of them. So you didn't take it as a massive list, or not even, maybe if it was just one thing, even a list of why to give up. You took it as a list of things to tackle, challenges to overcome, or things to address in your journey. And like you said, I didn't have it. But how did you point out that it didn't matter that you didn't have it? Don't have a bachelor's degree. Guess what? I don't have a bachelor's degree, but it doesn't matter with me. I've worked other things. I have the experience behind me. I have the certifications behind me. Just like you, Norma, I had heard, oh, that's not going to work, not going to happen. But here I am. Some stuff didn't work out for me as well. So, I acknowledged the failures. I analyzed why they went wrong and try to learn and grow. And then for the wins, like you said, we have to celebrate them. And that's something I always seem to gloss over. It's like, oh, great, production release. Everything's happy. Everything's good. 0 incidents or 0 issues in hypercare for a month. And then on to the next thing. So much so that now I'm really focused on it. And I'm actually traveling to do a client celebration next month on 18 months of work that we've completed with a small team of 3. So celebrate your wins. Sometimes it means taking time off and just, catch that breath. I'm trying to do better in that area as well. Take a breath, come back a little more refreshed. So thanks for those pieces of insight. That's incredible to hear that. Yeah. I think we've got some chat stuff. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it sounds like, the mentor that you were talking to didn't know who they were speaking to, right? And it speaks to the whole I have a whatever it takes attitude.
I think if I can, just to be fair to that person, I think they were just being honest with what happens in the industry. I don't think they necessarily didn't want to see me win. I just think they wanted me to know that if you're going to do this, you better start working twice as hard right now. So I think that was really helpful, to be honest with you. I think their heart was in the right place. I just think, in reality, they were right. Like, it was going to take, working 2-3 times as hard versus somebody who's got more experience in the industry, a degree, etc. So
I'm not saying that their advice was wrong. I just kind of objected a bit to the messaging in which that advice was delivered, because the way I would have communicated that would have been, I see where you're at. Here's the gaps, and here's how I think you can close those gaps. And then here's how I think you move forward and work towards it. Then you could go, I'll never do that. Or, that's going to take me 3 years and I don't want to invest that time because, I want to be with my family a little bit, maybe. So you can at least understand what the level of effort on your part would be required, and then make an informed decision, go, no go at that point, rather than just no, it'll never happen. And here's a long list of why. But I'm happy to hear that you turned that around into that. Oh, really? Watch. Right. Or what is it? I guess hold my Cosmo or hold my beer.
Right. If I can just point out something, just thinking about what you said, kind of maybe think of something. Find the right mentor for you guys. Sometimes you may need somebody to tell you, hey, get your what together. Or sometimes you may need somebody that's more nurturing, more technical. So sometimes you may need a little bit of both. So whenever you're reaching out to people to say, hey, like building that relationship and say, hey, I'm looking for a mentor, it's gonna look different for everybody. So just make sure that this is the right fit for you. You're clear about what you need or what you want, and then the same for them too, because they're gonna have expectations of you, and you don't want to waste their time. So make sure that you have an agenda, and if they give you things to do and work on, that you're meeting those, because they're donating their time and their effort and investing in you. And you want them at the end of the day to be your advocate. Somebody reaches out and I say, hey, Chris is my mentor, and Chris is well known in the community. And a company reaches out to Chris and is like, hey, Chris, what do you think about Norma? He's like, honestly, I've asked her to do this and she's not done it. It's kind of been a one-way street relationship, and you don't want somebody to speak on your behalf of that. I want Chris to be like, everything I've asked Norma to work on, to focus on, she has knocked out of the park. And if she's had trouble, she's reached out. She's not been afraid to be honest and open, so make sure that that relationship with your mentor is a productive one, and not just one that you take from them.
Sarah, any questions or follow-ups on that?
No, I absolutely agree. How long did it take you to get your government clearances from, because I know it's a government job, correct?
Hmm.
Yeah. So how long did that?
And I don't have any security clearances currently, but the public trust, I have a public trust. It took a while. I think it was like 3 or 4 months that I was on the project, and it was like couldn't really do anything but learn.
Absolutely.
So it can take a while depending, but I don't have a clearance, unfortunately.
But maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
I would love one.
And just to go
I'm
back a
curious.
bit to the mentor a little bit, so I was going to say this, and Glenn echoed it in the chat, so thanks for this, Glenn. But it's okay to have more than one mentor, and one of my things is I'm the big softie, so to communicate with the mentor and say, hey, I need to know, like, I'll give you the real talk, but you got to tell me that's what you want. I'm never going to default to that because honestly, I'm scared to hurt people's feelings or to discourage them. So as a mentor for some people, those are the things that we look for is, like Norma said, if I give you something, I'm never going to give you 3 months worth of work and say, come back to me in a week. I'm going to give you 20 minutes of work and say, come back to me in a month. So, the expectation is, yes, you can get that done within the 20 minutes, or it shows that, maybe your priorities just aren't with the mentorship just at this moment, and that's okay. I don't mind pushing a meeting a month or anything along those lines, as long as we know why and that we know the impacts of that decision. And I'm okay with that. I just don't want to push the meeting and then go, oh, well, I'm not seeing progress with the mentorship. It's like, well, we haven't met in 3 months and it's not because of me. So that's always great to note down. You can have more than one mentor. Try to find somebody that is a great fit for you, that's going to help push you just a little past the comfort zone, but still have that nurturing bit, or at least meet you at the level where you are. I mean, I grew up in some sports, and we had just rewatched an old video of it, and it was just nonstop my coach yelling at me through the whole thing. That honestly works for me. So, when I look for mentorship, and I still do, that's the kind of mentor I look for. Someone that's going to be factual, to the point, blunt, and brutally honest, so that I can get to the meat, I can get to the potatoes and start working on that stuff. But then when I flip to being the mentor, I'm the exact opposite. So try to find that right fit, and then also communicate with your mentor where you're at and what you need at the time. And they can adjust.
Absolutely. I think
Awesome.
just to kind of go off that it's been a year since I've received my CSA, and it gets very discouraging whenever you apply, and you're not getting interviews, or you do get interviews. And, I think something people need to understand is, like, when you get discouraged, that's when you really need to reach out to your mentor and be like, hey, I'm discouraged. I don't know if this is my path, or, you're not, I guess, navigating the learning very well. But it's always good to reach out and say, this is where I am today, because if you're discouraged today, it's going to lead to you being more discouraged throughout, the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And you're not
And
going to want to apply, and it just it's a domino effect. So
totally. And I was outside of the podcast, I was working with someone, and they put the mentorship on a pause to not focus on ServiceNow. And that's okay. It's about making sure that we know what is going on and what the commitment is related to getting all of this stuff done, and then moving forward there and deciding, is this right for me? And you're allowed to change your mind during the journey. So don't hesitate to do that, to have those evaluations. And then if you feel that it's right for you to change gears or to change paths, then go forward. And as I said to them, the doors are not closed on my side. I'm not going to reach out and pester you, because I don't want to start drumming up feelings or anything like that. But if you want, The door's always open, reach out, and we'll pick up right where we left off. And that's it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so, oh yeah, we've got some more comments. Glenn's active in the chat, so thanks, Glenn, for that. So, I think then we've kind of gone through mostly everything. So we'll just cover kind of the high level journey. So Norma's focus was mostly on networking. And then once she'd built up networking contacts, and these were just getting to know her, she was getting to know them on a personal level, not just coming in hot saying, hey, nice to meet you, here's my resume. So this was, hey, I'm Norma, here's what I'm about, tell me about yourself, building that personal relationship. Then she focused on targeted applications to specific people. Like she had said several times, her dream company was Accenture. And she had a specific resume focused just on them, and also a couple others focused on other types of roles that she would use. This enabled her to quickly apply to roles to make sure that she wasn't stuck in analysis paralysis on, is this bullet point on my resume aligned to the job description? She was able to just do some quick tweaks, submit, and then on to the next. Once she got through the interview stages at Accenture, she started her onboarding journey, went through her clearances, had even more patience. So even at the end, what we consider the end, getting that job offer and starting on day one, she still had 3 months until the public trust piece came in. So just because you get to that day one on the job doesn't mean that the journey ends. That's the start of a new journey. And then after the public trust came in, then the start of another one starts. So it's never ending. We're never going to get to the top of that mountain, but we got to always keep climbing. I think, did I cover all of it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, I mean, even on top of now that I'm working, there was a lot of growing pains.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I still now I have found a network within my company, and the process is different. I'm actually, it's funny, if I can close with this, you're never done. Like, just because you landed the job, you're still not done. So the process that I did to get the job is now looking different, because now I'm could possibly ready be up for a promotion. Um, so I've had to do volunteer work. I've had to do networking within my company. I've had to take on other responsibilities, writing up like my summary of my accomplishments, getting mentors within the company so to help me adapt into the company, like the culture and how they work, and uh, being discouraged when I'm not doing as well for me, my expectations, I'm my worst critic. I think we all are. So just when you guys are successful, and I wish the success for everybody here, just know that your journey is not over. Don't stop. Don't put your foot on the gas. Pause to celebrate, but you're going to do a rinse and repeat, because more than likely you're not going to be satisfied with just landing the role. Because if you made the switch, you determined to make that switch, there's something in you that's going to want more, that's just going to do better. And that's a great thing.
That's fantastic. Sarah, any closing notes on your side?
I was just gonna say, like the next gen, once you complete the class, they have a lot of information classes for resumes, your elevator pitch, like go through all that several times. And I think that will help you build your confidence, like going to interviews and um, having people review your resumes. And I love the idea of having someone do mock interviews from your cohort. That was a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, I think that's gonna just about do it. One last piece to touch on is, Norma, I know you said that you're your biggest critic. I also, do that, and I think Sarah is in the same boat. Probably, like you said, probably everybody. And I think that that's okay, as long as you balance it out with also being your loudest cheerleader. So there's two sides to that coin. So I use the biggest critic to push myself forward, to learn, to acknowledge mistakes, and hopefully grow from them. but I'm also working on that cheerleader aspect to, like you said, take a break, recognize and celebrate my wins and accomplishments, acknowledge them, and then kind of strike a bit of a balance so that I'm not
Yeah,
so Chris didn't do it right.
that's a big deal.
Mm.
Let me just give a shout out. So my husband, and I encourage you guys to find that person that's gonna be in your corner. My husband is the biggest supporter through all of this. So on top of finding the mentors in this fight, just find somebody that's gonna cheerleader for you. Like, you know, there's plenty of people out there that we were in the same boat and they would call me crying. I remember we both work at Accenture right now. We're both military spouses. We literally call each other in the car crying, like, I got another no, this is never gonna happen. And we would just be like, shut up, girl, it's gonna happen. What are you crying for? So find somebody also that's gonna be your biggest supporter. My husband was very supportive, and it wouldn't be possible without having these people support me. So it wasn't just like I did it, but there's a community that I built to keep me going. So make sure you guys build that community as well too.
Definitely, yeah, and we have the community. Sarah's got one. I only was able to move forward in my journey as well because of the mentors I've had, the community I built. So that's very important, and deserves everybody's time and attention from your own personal journey standpoint. I can't imagine telling someone who's crying, "Shut up, it's gonna happen," but it's just I'm like, oh my God, I'd be crying with them. I'm so sorry. I'm failing you. But again,
Well, we built
you know,
that relationship to be like, what are you crying for? Let's go. Come on.
and if someone said, "Hey, I need the real talk," in the middle of the tears, I still honestly don't know if I could do that. I'd be like, I think you need a tougher mentor. Go talk to someone else. Yeah.
I
But
guess bring them
anyways,
my way.
yeah. Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you recognizing your community and all those that supported you. They continue to do so. Your network is only growing even more so now. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, concerns, comments, or anything that you need. I'm here to help as well for you. So thank you so much for your time, everybody. We really appreciate it. If you have anything else, please feel free to connect on LinkedIn. I believe we'll be tagging people as well. So thank you so much and have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.